The morning sun painted the sky orange over New Sol Colony. The small human settlement sat quiet on the green hills of Kepler 442b, a planet far from Earth. Most people were still sleeping, but Kim Hana was already awake. Hana opened the door to her ice cream shop and breathed in the fresh air. She loved this time of day. The street was empty except for a few cleaning robots moving slowly on their tracks. Her shop, Hana's Ice Cream Paradise, had bright blue walls and yellow flowers in the windows. It was the prettiest building on Main Street. She walked inside and turned on the lights. The shop was small but cozy. 6 tables with red chairs filled the space. Behind the counter, 12 different flavors of ice cream waited in their freezers. The smell of vanilla and chocolate mixed with the sweet scent of the alien fruits she used in her special flavors. Hana had been on New Sol Colony for 3 years now. She came here after losing her husband and daughter in a transport accident on Earth. The pain was too much there. Everything reminded her of them. So she sold everything and bought a ticket to the frontier. She wanted to start over, to make something good in a place where no one knew her story. The ice cream shop became her new family. Every day, colonists came to buy ice cream, but they stayed to talk. Children pressed their faces against the glass cases, pointing at their favorite flavors. Teenagers came on dates, sharing sundaes with 2 spoons. Old people sat at the tables for hours, talking about their lives back on Earth. Park Jin-ho was always her first customer. He was the colony's security chief, a tall man with kind eyes and graying hair. Every morning at exactly 8 o'clock, he walked through her door. "Good morning, Hana," Jin-ho said as he entered the shop. He wore his blue security uniform and carried his plasma pistol on his belt. "How are you today?" "I am good," Hana replied in her careful English. She had learned the language well but still spoke slowly. "Your usual?" "Of course," Jin-ho smiled. His usual was honey ginseng swirl, a flavor Hana created by mixing earth spices with sweet sap from local trees. She scooped 2 large balls into a cup and handed it to him. "Any trouble last night?" Hana asked. This was their daily routine. "Nothing at all," Jin-ho said, taking his first bite. His face relaxed. "The perimeter sensors are quiet. The weather control system is working perfectly. Another peaceful day in paradise." Jin-ho was right. New Sol Colony was peaceful. 2,000 people lived here, growing crops and mining rare metals. The planet had no dangerous animals and good weather. The biggest problems were usually broken equipment or arguments between neighbors. As Jin-ho finished his ice cream, more people began arriving. Mrs. Yang brought her twin grandsons, Kiho and Minho, who always wanted the same flavor, strawberry with rainbow sprinkles. The boys were 7 years old and exactly alike except for a small scar on Kiho's chin. "Can we have extra sprinkles today?" Minho asked, bouncing on his toes. "Please, Aunt Hana," Kiho added. They called her aunt even though they were not related. Most of the children in the colony did this. "Extra sprinkles for good boys," Hana said, covering their ice cream with colorful bits of sugar. The twins giggled and ran to their favorite table by the window. Lee Minho came in next. He was 25 and worked as an engineer at the mining station. He was shy and quiet, with messy black hair and thick glasses. Hana liked him because he always said please and thank you. "The usual, Minho?" Hana asked. "Actually," Minho said, his face turning red. "Can I have 2 scoops of the Blue Moon flavor? In a nice cup?" Hana smiled. Blue Moon was made with alien berries that glowed softly in the dark. It was expensive and special. "Someone important coming." Before Minho could answer, Choi Yuna walked into the shop. She was the colony's school teacher, a pretty woman with long black hair and a bright smile. Minho's face turned even redder. "Hi, Hana," Yuna said. "Hi, Minho." She sat at the table across from him. I got this for you," Minho said, pushing the cup of Blue Moon ice cream toward her. "I remembered you said you wanted to try it." Yuna's smile grew wider. "That's so sweet, thank you." She took a spoon and tasted it. The ice cream glowed faintly on her tongue. "It's beautiful." Hana watched them share the ice cream and felt warm inside. This was why she loved her shop. It was not just about ice cream. It was about bringing people together, creating happy moments. The morning continued like this. Dr. Kim Borum came in for her coffee ice cream before going to the medical center. Old Mr. Park bought mint chocolate chip and sat reading the news from Earth on his tablet. 3 teenagers came in laughing, trying to decide between 10 different flavors. Around noon, the shop filled with families. It was Saturday, so no one had to work. Parents brought their children for lunch and ice cream. The sound of happy voices filled the small space. "Aunt Hannah," a small voice called out. It was Oh Suman, an 8-year-old girl with pigtails. Behind her came her twin brother Bei Wu Jin. "Can we have the special birthday table?" Today was their birthday. They were turning 9. Hannah had saved the big round table in the corner just for them. She had decorated it with balloons and put a small sign that said, "Happy Birthday Suman and Wu Jin." "Of course, birthday girl and boy," Hannah said. "What flavors do you want?" "Chocolate volcano," Suman said, "with the fizzy candy." Wu Jin added Hannah made their special birthday sundaes. Chocolate ice cream shaped like a mountain with popping candy that made small explosions in their mouths. Other children gathered around to watch and sing happy birthday. The afternoon was perfect. Families sat together. Children played between the tables, and everyone was happy. Through the window, Hannah could see the rest of the colony. People walked on the clean streets, robots tended the gardens, and the defensive towers stood tall against the blue sky. New Sol Colony felt safe. The towers had energy shields and plasma cannons. Jinho's security team patrolled every day. Ships from Earth brought supplies every month. Nothing bad had ever happened here. As the sun began to set, Hannah started cleaning up. Most customers had gone home for dinner. Only a few teenagers remained sitting in the corner booth and talking quietly. She was wiping down tables when she heard a strange sound. A deep humming that seemed to come from the sky. She looked up through the window and saw something that made her heart stop. Dark shapes were moving across the stars. They were big, bigger than any human ship she had ever seen. They had strange angles and glowed with red light. The humming got louder. The lights in her shop flickered. Outside, people were pointing at the sky and talking in worried voices. Hannah's hands began to shake. She had lived through enough to know when something was very wrong. These were not human ships. These were not friendly visitors. The peaceful day was about to end. Something was coming to New Sol Colony. Something that would change everything forever. But in that moment, as she watched the alien ships grow larger in the darkening sky, Hannah did not know that her little ice cream shop was about to become the center of a war that would shake the galaxy. She only knew that for the first time since coming to this peaceful world, she was afraid. The alien ships hung in the sky like dark clouds. They were huge, each one bigger than the entire colony. Red lights pulsed along their black hulls like angry eyes. The humming sound grew louder until windows began to shake. Park Jinho ran through the streets toward the security center. His comm device was buzzing with messages from his team. People were coming out of their houses, pointing at the sky and talking in scared voices. "All security personnel to stations," Jinho spoke into his comments. "This is not a drill. Unknown vessels in orbit, prepare defensive systems." At the ice cream shop, Hannah locked her door and pulled down the metal shutters. The teenagers who had been sitting in the corner booth were already gone, running home to their families. Through the gaps in the shutters, she could see people hurrying down the street. Her hands shook as she called her neighbor, Mrs. Yang. "Are you safe? Are the boys with you?" "Yes, we are home," Mrs. Yang said. Her voice was tight with fear. "What do you think they want?" Before Hannah could answer, a new sound filled the air. It was like a voice, but wrong somehow. Too deep, too strange. It came from everywhere at once, right from the sky, from the ground, from inside their heads. "Humans of New Sol Colony," the voice said. Each word felt like ice water in their veins. "We are the Vorth Dominion. This sector now belongs to us. You have 1 solar cycle to evacuate. Take nothing. Leave everything. Comply or face destruction." The message repeated 3 times, then stopped. The silence that followed was worse than the alien voice. Jinho reached the security center where his team was already working. The building's thick walls made him feel safer, but not much. His second-in-command, Sergeant Kim Dae-hyun, was staring at the scanner screens. "Chief," Dae-hyun said, "these ships are massive. Our weapons can't even scratch them." "How many ships?" Jinho asked. 12 in orbit, but that's not the worst part." Dae-hyun pointed to another screen. "Look at this." The screen showed energy readings that made Jinho's stomach drop. Each alien ship had enough firepower to destroy their entire planet. "Send a message to Earth Command," Jinho ordered. "Emergency priority. Tell them we need help." "Already tried, Chief. They're jamming all long-range communications. We can't reach anyone outside the system." Jinho closed his eyes for a moment. 2,000 people lived in New Seoul Colony. Men, women, children, elderly. All of them were now trapped with nowhere to run. "Get me a colony-wide channel," he said. Minutes later, Jinho's voice reached every home and building in the colony. "This is Security Chief Park Jinho. I know you're all scared. I'm scared too. But we need to stay calm and work together. The Colony Council is meeting in 1 hour. Until then, stay in your homes. Keep your families close." In her apartment above the ice cream shop, Hana sat on her couch, holding a picture of her dead husband and daughter. She had come to this colony to escape pain, to start over. Now it seemed like the universe was bringing her more loss. She looked out her window at the street below. A few people were still moving around, but most had followed Jinho's orders to stay inside. The street looked wrong without children playing and families walking together. Her comm device buzzed. It was Lee Minho, the shy engineer. "Miss Hana, are you okay?" His voice was shaking. "I am fine, Minho. Are you safe?" "Yes. I'm with Yuna at her apartment. We were planning to have dinner together when this happened." Even scared, he sounded happy to be with her. "Stay together," Hana said. "Take care of each other." The Colony Council meeting was held in the community center. Mayor Cho Min-sok, a small man with gray hair, stood before 50 worried faces. The room was too small for everyone, so people stood against the walls and sat on the floor. "We have limited options," the mayor said. "Our defensive systems are strong, but not strong enough for this. The aliens have given us 24 hours to leave." "Leave and go where?" Dr. Kim Borum asked. "Our transport ships can't carry everyone. And even if they could, where would we go?" "We could try to negotiate," suggested Teacher Yuna. "Maybe they want something we can give them without leaving our homes." An old farmer named Mr. Seo shook his head. "I've seen aliens before back on Earth. Some are peaceful, some are not. These ones don't sound peaceful." The debate continued for 2 hours. Some people wanted to fight. Others wanted to try talking to the aliens. A few suggested hiding in the underground mines until help arrived. Finally, Jinho stood up. The room went quiet. Everyone respected him. "We're not leaving," he said simply. "This is our home. These are our streets, our buildings, our lives. If the aliens want this planet, they'll have to take it from us." Half the room cheered. The other half looked more scared than before. "But Chief," Dae-hyun said, "we can't fight those ships." "Maybe not," Jinho replied. "But we can make them work for it. And maybe, if we're smart and lucky, help will come." The meeting ended with no clear plan except to refuse the alien demand. People went home to spend what might be their last night with their families. The next morning came too quickly. Hana opened her shop early, thinking people might want something normal before the aliens returned. She was right. By 7 in the morning, her shop was full. Families sat together, eating ice cream for breakfast and trying to smile. The twins, Sumin and Woojin, were there with their parents, sharing a big sundae. Old Mr. Park sat in his usual spot, reading news that was now a day old. Minho and Yuna held hands across their table. "This is nice," Yuna said quietly. "If something bad happens, at least we're all together." At exactly noon, 24 hours after their first message, the aliens spoke again. "Humans of New Seoul Colony, your time is finished. You have chosen to resist. We will now demonstrate the price of resistance. One of the alien ships moved, lower in the sky. It was shaped like a giant triangle, black as space with red lights running along its edges. It stopped directly above the colony's center. In the security center, alarms were screaming. "Chief," Dahyun shouted. "They're charging weapons." "Raise the shields," Jinho ordered. "All defensive systems online." The colony's energy shields flickered to life, creating a blue dome over the settlement. But everyone could see the truth. The shields were designed to stop small attacks, not weapons from ships that big. On the alien ship, Commander Thekvar studied the human colony through his viewing screen. The Vorth were masters of fear. They had conquered dozens of worlds by showing other races what happened to those who resisted. "Commander," his weapons officer said, "their shields are primitive. We can break them easily." "No," Thekvar said. His voice was like grinding metal. "Shields protect everything equally. We need to be more precise. Show them what they lose when they defy the Vorth." He studied the colony layout on his screen. The humans had built their settlement around a central area where people gathered. Their intelligence scans showed high emotional activity in one particular building, a small structure where humans came together daily. "There," Thekvar pointed, with one of his forearms. "That building. It seems to be important to them. Destroy it completely. Let them watch their precious gathering place burn." The weapons officer looked at the target. "It appears to be some kind of food distribution center." "Perfect. Destroy their food source. That will break their spirit quickly." What the aliens didn't understand was that Hana's ice cream paradise wasn't just a food distribution center. It was the heart of the colony. It was where children celebrated birthdays, where couples fell in love, where neighbors became friends. It was where people went when they were sad, and where they shared their happiest moments. In the ice cream shop, Hana was serving what she didn't know would be her last customers. The twins Suman and Woojin were at their birthday table, even though their birthday was yesterday. Their parents had brought them for one more treat. "Can we have extra sprinkles again?" Woojin asked. "All the sprinkles you want," Hana said, smiling. Even though her heart was breaking, outside people gathered in the streets to watch the alien ship. The blue energy shields hummed overhead, but everyone knew they wouldn't hold. On the alien ship, weapons charged with a sound like thunder. Energy built up in the ship's main cannon, enough power to destroy a city block. "Target locked," the weapons officer reported. "Fire," Commander Thekvar ordered. A beam of red light shot down from the ship. It hit the colony's shields and burned through them like paper. The beam continued down, straight toward the little blue building with yellow flowers. In the windows, Hana looked up and saw death coming for her. She had just enough time to push the twins toward the back door, just enough time to scream, "Run!" Then the red light reached Hana's ice cream paradise. The explosion shook the entire colony. The little blue building vanished in a ball of fire and smoke. The blast threw people to the ground blocks away. Windows shattered. Car alarms screamed. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left but a smoking crater where the ice cream shop had been. Hana was gone. The twins were gone. Everyone who had been inside was... The silence after the explosion lasted only seconds, but it felt like forever. Then the screaming started. Park Jinho ran toward the smoking crater where Hana's ice cream shop used to be. His legs felt weak, like he was running through deep water. Other people were running too, calling out names of friends and family who might have been inside. "Hana!" Jinho shouted. "Hana!" But there was no answer. There would never be an answer again. Mrs. Yang fell to her knees at the edge of the crater. Her grandsons Kiho and Minho had been visiting friends when the shop was destroyed, but she knew Hana was gone. The woman who had been like a daughter to her, who had made ice cream for her grandsons every day, was nothing but ash and smoke now. Dr. Kim Borum arrived with her medical kit, but there was no one to save. The weapon had been too powerful, too complete. It had erased everything. The building, the people, even the ground where it had stood. Lee Minho held Choi Yuna as she cried. They had shared their first real date in that shop just yesterday. The blue moon ice cream that had glowed softly in the dark, the nervous laughter, the moment when their hands touched across the table. It all felt like a dream now, She was so kind, Yuna whispered. She never hurt anyone. Why did they kill her? Above them, the alien ship moved back to its position in orbit. Commander Thekvar watched through his viewing screen as the humans gathered around the destroyed building. He had seen this many times before on other worlds. First came the shock, then the grief, then the surrender. Send another message, he ordered. Tell them they have 6 hours to begin evacuation. If they refuse again, we destroy another building. But something was wrong. The humans below were not acting like other species had. Usually, after a demonstration like this, the survivors would beg for mercy. They would offer to leave immediately, to give the Vorth whatever they wanted. These humans were different. They were still gathering around the destroyed shop, but they were not begging. They were not running to their ships to escape. Instead, they were angry. Jinho stood in the center of the crater, holding a piece of metal that used to be part of Hana's counter. His face was hard as stone. Around him, 200 colonists had gathered. Their faces showed the same expression, a cold, quiet rage that burned like fire. They think they can scare us, Jinho said. His voice was steady, but everyone could hear the fury underneath. They think if they destroy what we love, we will run away like frightened children. Old Mr. Park stepped forward. In his hand, he held a small plastic spoon, the kind Hana used for ice cream samples. It was cracked and melted, but he held it like it was made of gold. I ate ice cream in that shop every day for 3 years, he said. Hana always remembered that I liked mint chocolate chip. She always asked about my arthritis. His voice broke for a moment. She was a good person. More people began to speak. They told stories about Hana, about the shop, about birthday parties and first dates and quiet afternoons spent talking over ice cream. Each story made the anger burn brighter. Mrs. Yang stood up slowly. Tears ran down her face, but her voice was strong. My grandsons called her Aunt Hana. She was not our blood, but she was our family. They killed our family. The crowd began to change. The grief was still there, but it was hardening into something else. Something dangerous. From his apartment window, Kim Do-yeon watched the gathering. He was 45 years old and had come to New Seoul Colony to farm and live peacefully. But before he was a farmer, he had been a soldier. He had fought in 3 wars for Earth Defense Forces before retiring to this quiet world. Now he walked to his closet and opened a case he had not touched in 5 years. Inside was his old military equipment, body armor, weapons, tactical gear. He had hoped never to use them again. He put on the armor and checked his rifle. It was old, but still worked perfectly. Then he walked outside to join the crowd at the crater. When people saw him in full battle gear, they went quiet. Do-hyun was known as a gentleman who grew vegetables and helped his neighbors. Seeing him as a soldier again was shocking. I came here for peace, Do-hyun said. I wanted to grow food and watch sunsets and forget about war. But they brought war to us. They killed Hana. They killed children. They made a choice, and now we make ours. He raised his rifle above his head. I know how to fight. Who wants to learn? 50 hands went up immediately. Then 100. Then almost everyone in the crowd. Park Yoonjin was the colony's communications specialist. She had been trying to reach Earth since the aliens arrived, but their jamming was too strong. Now, she had a different idea. She went to the mining station where the big quantum transmitters were kept. These were designed for sending data about mining operations to Earth, but they had enough power to break through alien jamming, if she modified them correctly. Working quickly, she changed the transmitter settings. Instead of sending mining reports, she would send a different kind of message. She recorded herself speaking into the transmitter. This is New Seoul Colony to all human worlds. The Vorth Dominion has attacked us. They destroyed our ice cream shop. They killed Hana Kim, Sumin-oh, Woo Jin-bae, and others. Good people who never hurt anyone. They think this will make us surrender. They are wrong. She paused, thinking of Hana's smile, of the twins asking for extra sprinkles, of all the happy moments that were now just memories. They don't understand humans. They think we fight for big things, for planets and resources and power. But we fight for small things too. We fight for ice cream shops and birthday parties. We fight for the people who remember how we like our coffee. We fight for home. She sent the message on every frequency she could reach. It bounced from relay station to relay station, spreading across human space like wildfire. On Earth, General Nam Ji-hoon was having breakfast when the message reached him. He listened to it 3 times, then called an emergency meeting. Within an hour, every human military base in the galaxy had heard Park Yoon-jin's words. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Recruitment centers across human space were flooded with volunteers. Not just young people looking for adventure, but older people, families, even children asking how they could help. On Mars Colony, a grandmother named Sarah Chen, who had once lived on Earth near where Hana grew up, organized her entire neighborhood to make care packages for soldiers. On Europa Station, engineers worked day and night to build new weapons. On the mining worlds, workers volunteered to dig materials for free. Dr. Shin Haewon, a scientist on Earth who studied alien psychology, watched the news reports with fascination. She had spent years trying to understand what made humans different from other species. Now she was seeing it happen in real time. "It's extraordinary," she told her research team. "Other species fight for survival, for territory, for resources, but humans, we fight for emotional connections. We form bonds with places and people and ideas. When those bonds are threatened, we don't just get angry, we become something else entirely." She pulled up data from previous alien conflicts. "Look at this. Every time humans have been pushed too far, we don't just fight back, we win. And we win because we're not fighting for logical reasons, we're fighting for love." Back on New Seoul Colony, the transformation continued. Kang Tae-hyun, who had been an accountant his whole life, was learning to use a plasma rifle. Song Myung, the gentle doctor who had delivered half the babies in the colony, was studying alien anatomy to find the best places to aim weapons. The colony's workshop became a weapons factory. People who had never built anything more dangerous than furniture were now making explosives and armor. Children too young to fight became messengers, carrying supplies and information. And in the center of it all, where Hana's ice cream shop used to be, they built something new. Not another building, but a memorial. They planted flowers, yellow ones like the ones that used to be in Hana's windows. They put up pictures of everyone who had died in the attack. But it was not a sad memorial. It was angry. It was a promise. "Commander, Tekvar received reports from his intelligence officers about increased human activity on the planet's surface. Military preparations, weapon construction, defensive positions. This was unusual but not unheard of. Some species fought back before surrendering. What he did not understand was the change happening across human space. His long-range sensors detected massive fleet movements from Earth and its colonies, hundreds of ships heading toward their position. "Commander," his tactical officer reported, "human reinforcements are approaching. Large fleet, military configuration." Tekvar was not worried. The Vorth Dominion had defeated human fleets before. Humans were brave but not particularly skilled at war. They were emotional creatures who made poor strategic decisions. "How long until they arrive?" he asked. 17 solar cycles. Plenty of time to finish here. Continue the demonstration. Destroy another building. 6 months after the ice cream shop massacre, the human fleet arrived at New Seoul Colony. But this was not the same humanity that had begged aliens for peace treaties and trade agreements. This was something new and terrifying. Admiral Yoon Seokjin stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the alien ships through the viewing screen. His ship was called Hana's Memory, painted with yellow flowers just like the ones that used to be in her shop windows. Around him, 300 human ships waited for his orders. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender offers from 12 different alien species in this sector. They all want to join our side." Seokjin was not surprised. In the past 6 months, humans had fought battles across 15 star systems. They had not just won, they had won in ways that scared other species. Human tactics were brutal, creative, and completely unpredictable. "Tell them we'll talk after we finish here," Seokjin said. First, We deal with the Firth. On the planet below, Kim Do-hyun crouched in a tunnel beneath the colony. His resistance fighters had been preparing for this moment for months. They had dug tunnels, built weapons, and learned every weak point in the alien defenses. Remember, he whispered to his team, we start the attack exactly when the fleet engages. The aliens will be distracted by the space battle. That's when we strike their ground positions. Bang Si-woo, a 17-year-old who had become their best hacker, checked his equipment one more time. He had spent months studying Vorth computer systems, finding ways to break their codes and disrupt their communications. I can shut down their planetary shields for exactly 7 minutes, he said. After that, they'll adapt and lock me out. 7 minutes is enough, Do-hyun replied. Captain Lee will be ready. Captain Lee Ji-won commanded the human ground forces aboard the fleet. She was 32 years old and had lost her brother in an earlier Vorth attack on another colony. Her soldiers called her the Ice Queen, because she never smiled and never showed mercy to aliens who hurt civilians. Her ships were loaded with a new type of soldier, humans who fought not just for duty, but for memory. Every soldier carried a small container of freeze-dried ice cream as both food and reminder of what they were fighting for. Before each battle, Lee's soldiers would eat a spoonful of the ice cream and think about the people they had lost. It was a ritual that made other species uncomfortable, but it made humans fight like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Attention all ships, Admiral Seokjin announced across the fleet communications. Today we finish what the Vorth started. They thought destroying an ice cream shop would break us. Instead, it woke us up. Today we show them what happens when humans have nothing left to lose. The battle began with a sound that had become famous across the galaxy. The melody of an Earth ice cream truck, broadcast on all frequencies. It was psychological warfare that confused and frightened alien troops. How could humans be so calm that they played children's music before battle? The Vorth fleet moved to engage, confident in their superior numbers and firepower. Commander Thekvar had reinforced his position with additional ships. Surely these emotional humans could not stand against the might of the Vorth Dominion. He was wrong. The human attack was unlike anything in military history. Their ships moved in patterns that seemed random, but were actually based on human emotional responses. Dr. Shin Haewon had discovered that human feelings created interference with Vorth psychic communications. The angrier humans became, the less the Vorth could coordinate their attacks. Admiral Seokjin's ships dove toward the alien fleet like angry hornets. They used tactics that no logical species would attempt. Ramming attacks, suicide runs, weapons fired at point-blank range. It should have been foolish, but it worked because the Vorth could not predict what humans driven by grief and rage would do next. Sir, Thekvar's tactical officer shouted. Their attack patterns are impossible to calculate. They're not following any known strategy. They're fighting like they want to die, another officer added. But that was not quite right. The humans were not fighting like they wanted to die. They were fighting like they had already lost everything that mattered, so death held no fear for them. On the planet, Do-hyun's signal came through the comm system, 3 short beeps followed by 2 long ones. It was the sound Hana's ice cream shop door had made when customers entered. Now it was the signal to attack. The resistance fighters emerged from their tunnels like ghosts. They had painted their faces with colors that matched Hana's shop, blue and yellow. They moved through the alien positions with deadly precision. Bang Si-woo's fingers flew over his keyboard, breaking through Vorth security systems that had protected them for centuries. Shields down, he announced. Planetary defenses offline. Above, the planet Captain Lee's troop ships dove through the atmosphere. Her soldiers jumped from their ships before landing, using personal flight packs to reach the ground faster. They sang as they fell. Old Earth songs about ice cream and summer days, their voices carried by radio to every human in the system. The Vorth ground forces had never faced an enemy like this. These humans fought with weapons, but they also fought with music and memories and stories. They talked about ice cream flavors while throwing grenades. They shared pictures of the dead while building bombs. One human soldier, Corporal Kim Min-jae, was captured by Vorth troops. During interrogation, they asked him why humans fought so strangely. "You don't understand," Minjae said, smiling even though he was wounded. "You destroyed our ice cream shop. That's where I had my first date with my wife. That's where my daughter asked for extra sprinkles on her birthday. You didn't just kill people, you killed our happiness. Now we're going to kill yours." The Vorth interrogator was confused. It was merely a food distribution center. "Why do you care so much about food?" Minjae laughed, and the sound sent chills through the alien. It wasn't about the food. It was about the love. You can't understand that, can you? That's why you're going to lose. Dr. Shin Haewon, monitoring the battle from Earth, watched the data streams with fascination. Human emotional responses were creating what she called psychic static, interference, that disrupted Vorth coordination networks across the entire sector. "It's incredible," she reported to Earth Command. "The stronger their emotions, the more effective they become at disrupting alien communications. Their grief and anger are literally weaponized." The tide of battle turned when Bang Si-woo managed something impossible. He hacked into the Vorth flagship's main computer. Using techniques that combined human creativity with alien technology, he broadcast a message directly into Commander Thekvar's communication systems. The message was simple: recordings of children laughing in Hana's ice cream shop, mixed with the sounds of the explosion that destroyed it. Over and over, laughter followed by destruction, joy followed by death. "Turn it off," Thekvar screamed, but his technicians could not stop the broadcast. The sounds of human happiness and human grief filled his ship, drove into his brain, made it impossible to think clearly. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Thekvar felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of death. He was a warrior and had faced that many times. This was fear of something worse. Fear of an enemy that fought with love and memory and dreams. Fear of humans who had learned to turn their greatest weakness, their emotional bonds, into their greatest strength. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Vorth Dominion fleet was either destroyed or in full retreat. Their ground forces surrendered after Captain Lee's soldiers surrounded their main base while playing recorded messages from Hana's ice cream shop customers. But the real victory was not on the battlefield. It was in the message that spread across the galaxy. Humans were no longer the weak, emotional species that other races could push around. They had become something new. Something dangerous. Something that remembered every kindness and avenged every cruelty. As the last Vorth ship jumped to hyperspace in retreat, Admiral Seokjin stood in the crater where Hana's shop had been. The memorial garden was still there, yellow flowers blooming in the alien soil. "We did it, Hana," he said quietly. "We made them pay." But even as he spoke, he knew this was only the beginning. Word of the human victory was spreading across the galaxy. Other species were choosing sides, deciding whether to stand with humanity or against it. The humans had won their first major battle as a united, weaponized species. But the real war, the war for the galaxy's future, was just beginning. 2 years after the Battle of New Sol Colony, the galaxy was a different place. The old order was gone, replaced by something no one had expected. A peace built not on fear, but on understanding. Park Jin-ho stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council on the neutral world of Harmony Station. He wore a simple blue suit, the same color as Hana's old ice cream shop. Around him sat representatives from 200 different species, all listening as he spoke. "The Hana Accords are not just laws," Jin-ho said in careful but confident English. "They are a promise that never again will anyone destroy the places where people find joy." The Accords were named after Hana Kim, the woman whose death had changed everything. They established new rules for galactic warfare, rules that protected what humans called emotional infrastructure, schools, hospitals, places of worship, and yes, ice cream shops were now off limits in any conflict. At first, other species had not understood. Why should military law protect something as simple as a place where people ate frozen desserts? But humans had explained it in ways that were impossible to ignore. Ambassador Nam Jiho, who had been General Nam Ji-hoon's aide during the war, rose from his seat. He was young for such an important position, but he had earned his place by understanding both human nature and alien psychology. "Honored delegates," he said, "let me tell you why we fight for ice cream shops." The hall went quiet. This story had been told many times, but it never lost its power. 2 years ago, the Vorth Dominion thought they could break human spirit by destroying one small building. They thought it was just a place where we got food. They did not understand that it was where we got hope. Nam Ji-ho walked to the center of the hall, where a holographic display showed images from New Seoul Colony. Pictures of Hana serving ice cream to children, of families celebrating birthdays, of the shy engineer finally asking the teacher on a date. "Every species has places like this," he continued. "Places where you are not soldiers or workers or politicians. Places where you are just happy. The Vorth destroyed our happiness thinking it would make us weak. Instead, it made us realize that happiness is worth fighting for." In the audience, several alien delegates nodded. The Zilani representative touched the crystal pendant she wore, a piece of her homeworld's singing rocks, where her people went to find peace. The Corvani ambassador thought of the floating gardens where his species meditated among the clouds. They all had their own version of Hana's ice cream shop. The humans had shown them that these places were not luxuries to be sacrificed in war. They were the very reasons war should be avoided. Dr. Shin Haewon, now the chief alien psychologist for the Human Defense Coalition, watched the proceedings from the observation deck. Her research into human emotional responses had helped create the new galactic understanding of what she called joy centers, places and activities that kept civilizations healthy and peaceful. "Fascinating," she murmured to her assistant. 2 years ago, our emotions were seen as a weakness. Now other species are studying human psychology to understand how emotional bonds create stronger societies. It was true. The war had revealed something unexpected about humans, their ability to turn love into strength. Other species were now copying human methods, creating their own emotional infrastructure and protecting it just as carefully as they protected their military bases. On New Seoul Colony, Lee Min-ho and Choi Yuna stood in front of a familiar blue building with yellow flowers in the windows. But this was not the same building that had been destroyed. This was the new Hana's ice cream paradise, built exactly where the old one had stood. "Are you ready?" Yuna asked, straightening her apron. "I think so," Min-ho replied. He had given up engineering to help Yuna run the new shop. "Do you think Hana would approve?" "She would love it," Yuna said, squeezing his hand. They opened the doors to a line of customers that stretched around the block. Not just humans, but aliens too. Zilani children pointed excitedly at flavors made with their homeworld crystals. Corvani families tried Earth chocolate for the first time. Vorth refugees, former enemies who had fled their militaristic society, waited patiently to taste what their commanders had tried to destroy. The new shop was bigger than Hana's original, with rooms for different species' dietary needs. But the heart of it was the same, a place where people came together over something sweet and simple. At the corner table, the same table where the twins Sumin and Woojin used to celebrate their birthdays, sat 2 new children. They were Vorth younglings, whose parents had defected during the war. Their names were Keth and Vel, and they had never tasted ice cream before coming to New Seoul Colony. "Extra sprinkles?" Yuna asked, just as Hana used to do. The young Vorth nodded eagerly, their forearms clapping with excitement. They had learned to speak basic Korean from the human children who had become their friends. "Please, Aunt Yuna," they said together, copying the way human children addressed the shop owner. Yuna smiled as she covered their ice cream with rainbow sprinkles. Some traditions were worth keeping, no matter what species practiced them. In the memorial garden behind the shop, Kim Do-hyun tended the yellow flowers that grew where the original building had stood. He had returned to farming after the war, but he also served as the colony's military advisor. His weapons were locked away again, but he kept them, ready, just in case. "The new shop looks good," said a voice behind him. Do-hyun turned to see Commander Tekvar approaching slowly. The former Vorth leader looked very different now. He had removed most of his military implants and wore simple civilian clothes. His 4 arms hung at his sides in a gesture of peace. "Commander," Do-hyun said carefully. He still did not trust the alien completely. But the Galactic Council had granted asylum to Vorth who renounced their empire's ways. "I wanted to apologize again," Thekvar said. His voice was still harsh, but there was something new in it. "Regret. I destroyed something beautiful because I did not understand its value." "You destroyed more than a building," Do-hyun replied. "You destroyed people, friends, family." "Yes," Thekvar said simply. "And in doing so, I learned something my species never taught me, that the strength of a civilization is not in its weapons or its territory. It is in the small joys that its people share." The former commander knelt awkwardly beside the memorial flowers. His anatomy was not designed for human gestures, but he tried. "I have requested permission to work in the new ice cream shop," he said, "to serve others instead of commanding them, to help create joy instead of destroying it." Do-hyun studied the alien for a long moment. 2 years ago, he would have shot this creature on sight. Now, he saw something different, a being who had learned the same lesson humanity had taught the galaxy. "Yuna and Minho make that decision," Do-hyun said finally. "But if you truly want to change, they might give you a chance." Inside the shop, the afternoon rush was ending. Families finished their ice cream and headed home for dinner. The Vorth younglings had made friends with human children and were teaching them a game from their home world. Alien tourists took pictures to send back to their families. As the sun set over New Sol Colony, Yuna stood in the doorway of the shop and watched the street fill with the warm light of evening. The colony was bigger now, with people from dozens of species living and working together, but it still felt like home. A gentle chime announced another customer. Yuna turned to see an elderly Zilani woman entering the shop, moving slowly with the help of a crystal walking stick. "We are closed," Yuna said gently, "but you are welcome to come in." The Zilani woman smiled, her crystalline features catching the light. "I have traveled far to taste what caused a war," she said in accented but clear English. "I must know, what makes ice cream worth fighting for?" Yuna laughed, the same laugh that Hana might have given. "It's not about the ice cream," she said. "It's about sharing something sweet with people you care about. Would you like to try some?" The old alien nodded eagerly. Yuna scooped a small portion of vanilla ice cream, simple, pure, the flavor that had started it all. She added rainbow sprinkles just as Hana always had. The Zilani tasted it carefully, her expression thoughtful. For a moment, she was quiet. Then her face lit up with understanding. "Ah," she said softly. "It tastes like belonging." "Exactly," Yuna said. Outside, the stars were coming out. Among them were ships from 100 different worlds, bringing visitors to see the place where the galaxy had learned that some things were worth more than territory or resources or power. Some things, like ice cream shops and birthday parties, and the memory of a kind woman who made everyone feel welcome, were worth everything. The war that began with the destruction of one small building had ended with the creation of something beautiful, a galaxy where joy was protected, where differences were celebrated, and where even former enemies could sit together and share something sweet. It had taken the destruction of Hana's ice cream paradise to teach the galaxy that paradise was not a place you conquered. It was a place you built together, one scoop at a time.